Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Rosie here. We have to do this one, Scott. I'm sorry, dude. I've been giving you a break, bruh. Your videos have been largely ignorable. I thought about doing the Demogorgon rat liver one, and then I thought about doing another one on Demo is the New Wraith, but you know what? Fine. You can have your bad opinion, Scott. Here, though, no. We have to do this one. This one here is about Myers. And Myers is apparently not even close to being the worst character in the game, according to Scott Jund. Hey guys, Scott here. Let's go ahead and tackle these arguments, because I don't know. I haven't watched this whole thing yet. I've watched like the first 5 minutes, and then the arguments were obviously super weak. So let's go ahead and see what we can do here to dismantle Daddy Myers and prove why he is absolutely bottom 5, no question.
Hey guys, Scott here, and today I'm going to defend my boy Daddy Myers. Because I made a video about who I thought the worst killer in the game was, just, my opinion of it. And so many people in my comments said that they thought that Myers was the worst killer, and I have no idea where that even came from.
At least it came from Myers being bad. Scott Jund has been a notion that's been going around for quite some time now. For real, it's been going around for quite some time. And Myers being so obviously bottom 5 has been going around for quite some time. For you to not see this is to prove you're an immediate disconnect with the community, which is something that I've accused these fog whisperers and bigger content creators of for quite some time now. There is a big disconnect with the community. Like, they think they just make the rules in the community. They think they just, perpetrate the opinions. That's absolutely not true. Like, the community has its own logic and its own train of thinking, and Myers being bottom 5 is something that's been going on for quite a while. So I don't know why you don't know where that came from, because it's been here for quite some time.
I don't even think he's in, the bottom 5. And,
interesting, because I don't think Legion's in the bottom 5.
And so I thought I would grab, there were 70 comments about this. I just grabbed a couple, and I thought I would read them and argue points against how I think that is not correct.
Good shit, bro.
And I think we'll just go from there, because let me just be clear. I don't think Myers is a good killer, but we're talking about, the worst killer in the game, and people keep saying Myers is the worst. So I just want to show why I heavily disagree with that. But no, he's obviously nowhere near the best. So get that out of your head if you think I'm saying that he's actually OP or anything like that, because he's not. He's definitely on the weaker side now that he's become sort of outdated. But let's start with...
That's actually a big point to why he's one of the worst characters in the game. He's outdated. He's outdated, dude. What he's trying to do, there's so many things about his core design are just outdated. 105 movement speed, outdated. Survivor's running out of stock is outdated. For real. That idea is super outdated. Ghostface came in and got rid of that. Survivors don't ever run out of stock. That's an outdated concept. Lots of outdated concepts on Myers. And that's the first thing.
Just reading some comments. I'm surprised you didn't consider Myers as a contender for being the worst. With add-ons, he's redeemable. However, he has some pretty bad flaws to him. For the record, I played a bunch of Myers games off-stream. I used yellow and brown add-ons, so I really think he's that add-on dependent. Maybe the yellow stalking one, which appears, 3 on a blood web. So, I mean, you can say he's reliant on that, I guess. Just you can say rate or...
Okay, so let's talk about the problem with Myers. Okay, stalking is ridiculously hard against people who know what they're doing. Okay, a keyword there, against people who know what they're doing. Okay, so yeah, if you go in and play people that don't know what they're doing, yeah, you'll have an easy time stalking them and getting out of tier 1, etc. You'll have an easy time. So for him to walk in and immediately say Myers is not add-on dependent because, okay, the yellow stalking one, you get that for 3 times in every blood web. So the green stalking one as well. But those 2 stalking ones, you need to be running once of them every single match. And then the tier 3 duration flies by faster than the fucking generators do. So, so you have to run those durations if you don't want to run cancer. I mean, you could obviously run cancer and then it's better. But, but these add-ons are super important. And playing a bunch of Myers games off stream and running tacky earrings, you're probably playing against bad players there, dude. Again, just I don't know, a lot of these people, one of the biggest problems in this community is everybody is so quick to say that the people they are playing against are good. That's just not the case, bruh. That's just so not the case. The majority of players you're playing with are bad. They're not good, they're bad. It's true. That's absolutely 100% true. The majority of games that you play with people, they're bad. I think I had 3 games on a 3.5 hour stream. So maybe 50 minutes of gameplay against good players. 50. Maybe. And one of the games I lost was because I was getting just adjusted to Blight on a map where he didn't have a lot of collision, aka Grim Pantry. I feel like I could have done better if we were at a different map. But, so maximum 50 minutes of gameplay against good players. On a 3.5 hour stream. 3.5, was it close to 4? I don't remember. On my last bigger Dead by Daylight stream. Where we just played nothing but Blight all night, trying to get used to him. Yeah, so maybe 2 or 3 games were against actual good players. So for you to walk in and be like, oh, I played a bunch of Myers games off stream, dude, it's not that add-on dependent. Yeah, against who? Against Joe Blow and his friends? This guy, this is something that he said before. He doesn't think that you have to realistically look at good teams to actually get data, which is probably the most horrible belief in the game. Because, Almo has it, and you know where those stats are. Not needing good teams to get data, that's the most horrible belief in the entire game, no matter who's saying it. And so you have to remember that when he's talking about anything. Because he doesn't think the people you have to be playing against are good, because if he did, the streaks, odds of streaks would have to be balanced around that. Accomplishments of characters and players in this game have to be balanced around good players. They have to be discussed around good players. And the reason for that is if it's not a good player, it's not an accomplishment. That's the simple fact. For both characters and players.
Demogorgon's reliant on old rat liver or black heart and things like that, but you have infinite of them, so I don't know. I don't find that to be a very big deal. Anyway,
it is a big deal because it takes up your add-on slot. It doesn't matter how many you have, you get 2 add-on slots per match. If you're dependent on an add-on, you have to run that add-on every single game. So, yes, it's taking up 50% of your slots. It doesn't matter how many are in your box. It matters what's going up into the thing for your match. You get 2 choices. And if one of your choices is in there every single match because the killer has a flaw that they're unplayable without, that's a problem.
He starts off the game as a 4.2 meters a second killer, but has to spend time stalking it out of his state. That's true. Something smart survivors can prevent for a decent amount of time, which gives them what I feel is one of the worst early games in the game. It is true that Myers has a weak early game. That is the only, significantly weak part about Myers.
False. Well, okay, false. Absolutely false. Myers has a lot more problems about him. Okay? First of all, saying Myers has a weak early game, that's downplaying it. Significantly downplaying it. He's going to keep talking about that, so just let's see what he says.
I will not disagree with. However, I think it is drastically overestimated how hard it is to get out of Tier 1. Because in all of these games, I went into this just trying to find out how long it would take me to get into Tier 2 from Tier 1, from the beginning of stock and from, the beginning of the game. In pretty much every game, the second I started stalking someone, I caught them at a position. They couldn't know it was a Myers. They had no idea I was there. So I get half the, bar right there. And then as they're running away, I just finish it up. It took me probably 5 to 10 seconds every game to get out of Tier 1.
Okay, yeah, against bad players. For real. They had no idea it was Myers. Who are you playing against, dude? Who are you playing against? I mean, your white mask contrasts with the background. So, if you are seriously sitting there and actually getting close enough to them to get a reasonable amount of stalk on them to where you get out of Tier 1 in 5 to 10 seconds, you're playing against someone who's pretty bad at the game. Because if you don't hear a terror radius, any good player assumes stealth killer until they hear a terror radius. Honestly, if that's not what they're doing, they should be. You should be assuming stealth killer until you hear a terror radius, or one of your Swift buddies calls out who it is to you. So you should be scanning the map always if you're fucking good. So yeah, you're playing hurt like a bad player if you're getting out of Tier 1 in 10 seconds, okay? For real. Something smart survivors can prevent. Look what he said. Smart survivors can prevent for a decent amount of time. Smart. The key word is smart. That's what the man said. You're not acknowledging that he said there was a distinction between smart and bad survivors. Scott, I don't care, dude. I don't care that you played a game where you got out of tier 1 in 10 seconds. I don't care that you played 20 games where you got out of tier 1 in seconds. I don't care that you played 50 games in a row where you got out of tier 1 in 10 seconds. I don't care. Hell, I gen grabbed a rank 1 survivor as tier 1 the other day. And I've won a game with tier 1 before in its entirety. You don't see me flaunting it because it doesn't matter. Your accomplishments with tier 1 don't matter, dude. Tier 1's still trash. Smart survivors can stick you in it for a decent amount of time and take no damage. For real. And any map that you have realistic cover as tier 1, they have realistic cover to avoid stalks, like Larry's or something like that. They have realistic cover to break line of sight at all time and keep you trapped in tier 1 for quite a long time. So saying, yeah, Myers' early game is kind of weak, yeah, that's downplaying it. Absolutely, 100%. If you want to say the community overrates the problem, that's one argument. But to then downplay it, because that's a downplay. That's the opposite problem. Because saying it takes 15, 20 seconds, no. You just haven't played Myers enough to know some of these problems against good teams. And then, an early game is not Myers' only problem. Myers, remember when you were saying that Legion's the worst character in the game because if the survivors split up, they naturally counterplay his power more? That's literally the same thing with Myers. It's literally the same thing. So if Legion is the absolute worst character in the game, Myers is at least bottom 5 based on your own logic. Because of that splitting up counterplay, which Shreks his power more, especially if you're trying to do a Scream for Myers build. Especially if you're trying to do that. Tier 3 is weak. That's his other significant problem. He has to do those killer fundamentals, chase with no power, and Tier 3 is weak. So Tier 2 and Tier 3 are also both weak because you're only chasing and hitting people with your basic killer fundamentals, something which you knocked Legion for being the worst character in the game. Because he has to use those fundamentals and has no chase power, so his downs will be slow. You knocked Legion for this, so Myers has these issues too. Absolutely, 100%.
It's really not that hard. And I kind of feel like maybe people are just not playing Myers correctly. Now, yeah, if you're on Blood Lodge or something
and that's going to be the thing as fans say forever. Whenever you criticize Myers and talk about how bad Tier 1 is against anybody who's good, that is now going to be their poster phrase. It's already started. If you look at my video, you'll see some PC Master Race Scott Jund cronies being like, oh, you're just not playing Myers right. That's going to be the catchphrase for them whenever you criticize Myers in any way, shape, or form. Because it's a hive mind mentality. He doesn't like just when you say hive mind for some reason. His fans are literally a hive mind. The only people that get offended when you talk about hive minds are hive minds. But whatever.
Yeah, they'll see you coming. But the flip side is if you're on Blood Lodge where they can see you coming, they also have no loops to hide behind. They're all very short loops to where you can just stalk them directly through it. So even then, it's...
Okay, yeah, except there's a few jungle gyms at that map. That's not true. There's the crane tile / the bus. I don't know how much RNG has been impacted there. There's the horrible new Blood Lodge. So if you get them anywhere near the right side of the map where that Blood Lodge is, they're just going to run in there. You have to kick the breakable. That's a waste of time. Gens are fucking flying while you're doing this, by the way. And if you have to hit them on the other side, they have Shack. So, yeah, if you catch them in the middle, maybe, but what survivor's going to go to the middle at the beginning? They have to wait till at least 1 or 2 gens pop to go hit anywhere in the middle first. And even then, if I'm remembering Blood Lodge correctly, a lot of the generators are actually closer to the structures, right? I can think of 3 generators that are near the Killer Shack. Hell, and then I can think of another 3 gens that are near the fucking, either a jungle gym or the big Blood Lodge shack. So yeah, a lot of the generators at that map are actually near some of the tiles that get to block line of sight. So I just disagree with that statement entirely.
Not really an excuse. Probably the only times it's actually hard to get into Tier 2 are clustered indoor maps like Larry's, where in that scenario, you can get this close to them before they know that you're there, despite them being the best survivor in the world. If there's no audio or visual stimulus to indicate that you're nearby, well, they're just not going to know. And instead of hitting that person, you need to stalk them. It's really important that unless you're confident you can get a grab, which would be better, you spend that time stalking them, not hitting them, because you do not want to chase in Tier 1.
And then he just goes into basic Myers shit that everybody that has played Myers twice already knows, but he's still the worst character in the game anyway.
I feel like this is something people are maybe doing incorrectly, and that's why they're staying in Tier 1 so long. But you do not want to chase people in Tier 1. You want to get right up in their face and stalk them as much as possible and you'll get tier 2 really fast. I don't know why people are having so much trouble getting into tier 2. I'm not saying it never happens, but it's pretty rare that it takes me more than 10 seconds to get...
Yeah, because it's pretty rare that you get a fucking good match in this game by your own admission. By Scott John's own logic, it is both pretty rare to get a good match in this game where everyone's good, and it's also pretty rare to where you're trapped in tier 1. So, again, I'm an expert on Scoot logic. By using Scoot's logic, you can just appropriate the amount of Swifts to the amount of times you're trapped in tier 1. Making something look not so good for Daddy Myers if you think about it that way. Of course, I'm of the opinion that there are more decent Swifts, and it doesn't take a top 1% team to exploit how bad Myers is. But by Scoot's own logic, there's a problem there. There's a problem there with how quote unquote rare good Swift is, how quote unquote rare tournament teams, and how quote unquote getting trapped in tier 1 is rare. So again, against Swifts, you're having a problem.
At tier 1, so people are like saying that it's such a huge detriment, but the fact that you have no Teritus lets you get right next to survivors to begin to stalk them. So
yeah, unless they're good, in which case you can like be seen, because again, your white mask contrasts with the background. You don't have the best stealth kit in the entire world as Myers. You're super tall, and you have a big crippling white mask, which is a light thing in a dark game. Okay, that mask can be seen like meters away across the map by anyone who's good. And then of course, if there's a Swift, so one guy's hiding, and then it's Myers, guys. Hey, check it out, it's Myers. And so then, boom, the whole team knows. And then if they're not stupid, which is what we're analyzing for when we talk about who the best killers in the game are, best and worst killers in the game, if they're not stupid, everybody immediately knows it's Myers. So, like, that is being completely overlooked here as well. 3 minutes, Scott, this is bad.
I don't know where that comes from, but I don't know, maybe I'm just very lucky with stalking people. Next, his stalk takes a long time to tier up, and for unknown reasons, he can't stalk in the same holes as Ghostface. That's not true. They are actually programmed in the exact same way. I'm not sure where that claim comes from, but they are block for block the exact same code. So
I don't know if he's right or wrong. I've heard that he can't stalk through the same holes as Ghostface before, but I mean, I haven't tested it. But at the same time, Scott is not exactly reliable either. So I still think that claim is up in the air. I'm willing to listen to proof if anybody has it about that.
know where that comes from. But no, it does not take a long time to tier up. It takes like 6 seconds if they're, relatively near you. It can take longer, like 10 seconds if they're running further away from you. That's if you have no add-ons. So I get that. But typically, if a survivor is just running away from you like that, that's not typically when you want to stalk. The way I usually stalk is I chase normally as a tier 2 killer without a power. Yes, that's true. As soon as they drop the pallet, now we're in a scenario where I'm not trying to get a hit, I'm stalking them. And they can't really do anything. They can't leave the loop because then I can just hit them and down them. But they can't really stay in the loop either, or I just get to stalk them for free.
No, they can stay in the loop. The loop is a very bad way of looking at it. What tile are we talking about here, Scott? If you're at a fucking long wall, they can just laugh at you while they stay at the tile. They stay at the tile, have a cup of coffee, and then laugh at you. Okay? If you're even at some of them fucking basic tiles with big trees on like McMillan or something, if you're at one of them big fucking tiles with big trees, there's so many line of sight blockers that each individual loop has. If you're at a basic fucking tile with like no verticality, like, sorry Scoot, I don't consider that good. I don't consider that any good. Where you're like sitting there fucking getting stalk at the most basic loop in the game. I don't consider that good. Having anything you can do there is at a loop where it's probably mind gameable. Any loop you're talking about is probably mind gameable. So like, while you're stalking, Legion would have the down already. And then be hooking while you got half the stalk and then maybe went for a down while Legion's already pressuring the next guy and slowing the gens down. Myers has to earn the fundamentals of the game. That's always horrible. We always talk about how bad 115 is, right? Myers has to earn 115. He has to earn that great power and that great notion. He's got to earn it. That's terrible. That's terrible. Because 115 is not good. He has to have access to the game. Again, watch the Deep Hip Squad's game against Myers. They trap him in tier 1 for like, I'd say about 4 minutes of a 5-minute game is what it was. Like, they was in tier 1 for 4 minutes of a 5-minute game. Like, it was really, really hard to watch. And the Myers could barely play the game because he didn't really have access to the game until there was like one gen left because of how bad they kept him in tier 1. For real. For real. It's really bad. For you to have to earn that against good teams, it's going to be way, way harder to earn that, bro. Extremely.
So those are the scenarios when you actually want to begin your stock. When they can't really make distance to another loop and they're kind of forced to just stay there
like
or
a Myers
take a hit.
guide
That's
now.
when it's super easy to get stock. So
Yeah, dude.
maybe that's another thing that people are not doing correctly. They're just trying to stalk people
No,
as they're
everyone's
running.
doing it correctly, Scott. Everybody is doing it correctly. I promise. The Myers is not rocket science. He's not exactly rocket science. One of the easier characters in the game, actually.
Or something like that. You shouldn't really try to do that. You want to get close to people first and then do it. He's a lot like Legion in the sense that both of them are only going to land one hit after successful use of their power, except survivors can opt into not healing again against Legion, whereas Myers only has a set amount of time that his power is active. It's countered by people who split up and only gets a few opportunities to use his tier 3. Here's the thing.
That's all true. That's all true. Additionally, I would argue that Myers shouldn't be healed against. And I'll tell you why. Because his tier 3s beat dead hards. So if you get outflanked by a Myers and you have dead hard as your exhaustion perk because you're a good survivor, his tier 3s can instantly down you. If you have sprint burst, you can probably heal against him. But if you have dead hard, and the only way you have access to dead hard against tier 3 is if you stay injured. So that's why I would kind of argue that having your dead hard, bro, to extend your chase times. Assuming you're doing good against him in the early game, you have 3 gens done before he hits tier 2, just about. Maybe we'll give the Myers a fortunate match and say he's a gen and a half to when he hits tier 2. He's at a gen and a half. You still have enough time with all the hooks and all the kites and all the dead hards. You still have enough time to easily get the generators done if he gets to tier 2 and gets it down before 2 gens. Because he's that weak. So you have enough time to pump through 2 or 3 gens during that first hook, or just about, and then make sure you still get them. He's so bad, bro.
The whole not healing against Legion thing is not a big deal because you have ample warning that he's coming. That's why against most killers, survivors, that's true, they're not scared of healing. However, if you'll notice the good survivors, what killers do they heal against? Wraith, Pig, Ghostface, and Myers.
Why are they healing against Wraith? It's just the same thing against, why? Well, so they can get Nurse's Calling? The most trouble I have with Wraith and Ghostface are when they don't heal. Because they can just go, oh, dead hard. So I got my spine shield lit up. Or Wraith, why?
Because that you can't react to. If a Myers with an 8-meter Teridius...
He doesn't have 8 meters. He has 16 unless you're running Monitor, which I don't see in your build there, Scott. So don't tell me you run it every game because you clearly don't. He has 16. Much more reactable than the 0 that Ghostface and Wraith have. So even if that's your argument, again, the most problems I have are when they don't heal and then have Spine Chill and Dead Hard. But again, you've downplayed Dead Hard for years, so I guess that's why you don't see that. Again, 16 meters is more than enough for you to react with Dead Hard. But then if you Dead Hard to even a pallet, even a simple pallet, and stun him, and then get a few things of distance, he's baseline killer now. Which you shout on Legion for being one of the worst characters in the game because he has to chase you with no power. So is that Myers really going to continue that chase, or did he just waste 20 seconds? AK about, what is that, a fourth of the gen?
Whips around a corner, you have less than a second to react to a lunge, to teleport to a pallet, or
He also has his red stain in tier 2, so if he's not moonwalking around the corner, then you're going to see the red glow. And since that red glow will give you even more time to react, so you'll be able to easily get somewhere that Dead Hard will be able to save you.
Down. Provided he just, takes not a complete blunt straight line
sprint
path.
Burst. Or worse, sprint burst, which can get you even more distance.
Everyone can see him coming. If you do anything resembling some kind of secret pathing, the survivors have absolutely zero time to react to it and you go down. That's why staying injured against stealth killers is way more scary than being injured against a Legion.
I don't know
Because a Legion,
about
you're going to know.
I just don't know about that. I do not know about that. These exhaustion perks are way better than you're giving them credit for. All it takes is one of these exhaustion perks to not be outflanked against a stealth killer. So it's kind of a high risk, high reward kind of thing. If you see, Wraith especially, Wraith, Fuck, if you're staying injured against Wraith and my man has to uncloak, and I consider that reactable, bro. I don't know. Touchy subject. High risk, high reward kind of thing. If you, like, don't do it and it's, like, the best, you get the best possible scenario for you, the stealth killer just wasted a lot of his time. For real.
As soon as you hear the heartbeat, I know where he is. He's 32 meters away. I can triangulate his position based on the increasing volume of the terror radius, and it's not hard to get away from him. That's why I think Legion is so not a threat, because even if you're kind of nearby teammates, as soon as you see the mending bar appear on the bottom of your screen, you hear the terror radius and you run in the opposite direction. That's it. He's never going to hit you with his power. He's only ever going to hit one guy. That's all people have to do. As soon as you see the mending bar, run in the opposite direction.
That's not even implying any... That's not like... How close is he to you when this happens? If he's like 20 meters, he's still probably going to hit you. Or, at best, at worst for him, it takes him a bit longer. Like, if he hits somebody that's like 20 feet away from you and you're pinned up to the corner, he's coming to hit you, bro. And when he gets to you, there's no counterplay to his frenzy. You're going to slide over, even if you drop a pallet, he's going to slide over it and hit you. Like, you're downplaying how free a frenzy hit is. Also, a good Legion, if you're really doing that, a good Legion's going to have the awareness to know and then stay on the injured guy. For real.
Frenzy's not going to last that long. It just doesn't. Unless people let them get hit, which is the whole point you're supposed to circumvent. Very easy to avoid that shit.
Very easy to avoid getting stalked. It's very easy to avoid getting stalked if you're good. But like he's assuming that they're good against poor Legion, but assuming that they're babies against Myers, because wow, dude, look how easy it was for me to go in there and tear up in 15 seconds. And then once he's got to talk about Legion, he's going to downplay him and assume he's going against actually decent players that know what they're doing. Scott, how about you go in there and play the same people that you teared up in 15 seconds against Legion? I guarantee you're going to be getting like 3 to 4 hits in Frenzy, like every time. I promise. Because the guys you're tearing up in 15 seconds again aren't good.
What else in this comment was talking about? Using add-ons to play, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. Go with the take of Myers being the worst killer in the game. He has the worst early game of any killer in the game, and it is at this point you need pressure as soon as possible, which he cannot get. His tier up is so slow, and if survivors have eyes and block line of sight, Myers can take ages to get his first tier up, which makes him just...
He also didn't even talk about that. If the survivor has eyes and blocks line of sight, like, he didn't even go into that kind of thing.
One killer. Again, people really underestimate the power of having very little terror radius. An 8-meter terror radius, if you have Dead Rabbit, it's a 6-meter terror radius.
Did someone just forget to tell this guy that Myers is undetectable when he's in tier 1? Because he's talking about fucking when Myers had 8-meter terror radius. Myers is undetectable in tier 1 now, Scott. I'll do you one further. I'll say with 0 terror radius, he's not very good. For real. He doesn't even understand Myers has undetectable unless he's assuming monitor at tier 2. Which, I mean, if that's what he's doing, then he needs to be explaining that. To where I'm assuming monitor and abuse. Because again, he's not even running monitor and abuse. Either way, this is a very unclear discussion.
People really are underestimating how strong that is, even in a chase. Even just in a chase, if you just run to the other side of a loop, you no longer have a terror radius anymore. So you don't even know if the Myers is still chasing you at that point.
Except he has a fucking red glow. We just forget. Oh, is this Myers just a god at hiding his red glow at all fucking times? Well, then why isn't the Legion a god too? Like, why do we... Like, he's assuming... Like he's so assuming that this Myers player, this theoretical Myers player, has such an immense control over his red glow. For real. Which, I mean, to be fair, yes, if we're analyzing for top level, yes, that, like, the Myers would have to have an extreme amount of control over his red glow. But then why do we just assume the Legion player is bad? And why do we just assume that the Myers player is playing bad survivors and he's tearing up in 15 seconds? And we're assuming that the Legion player is playing god survivors that know exactly how much distance is then between them and the Legion to where running away is a good option. Like we're thinking that the Myers is playing. We're assuming that the Myers is playing against Care Bears and the fucking Legion players playing against Transformers. Like, it's kind of bullshit.
Probably is, but having that small of a tear radius is not no power. Having a 6
Oh
meter
my
tear radius with a
goodness.
dead rabbit and monitor is absolutely a power in itself, and it's a very strong one. It allows you to get so close to survivors that you are basically guaranteed a free hit if there's any line of sight blocking.
No, Scoot. No. My dog is barking. Stop barking. No, Scoot. 6 meter tear radius is no power. Because now you're assuming, oh, well, look, 6 meter tear radius, that loop you gotta be talking about has to be fucking huge. Okay? It's gotta be fucking huge. So we're at least talking about a jungle gym of some kind here. Long wall, maybe, long wall, short wall. If that pallet's dropped, which it should be if they're smart, well, they'll hold off on it for as long as possible. And then dead hard, so even if the Myers is a god with his red glow, and the guy's injured, he gets the dead hard and then drop the pallet, which the Myers then has to kick. Because he's Myers and he has no power, but he's in chase. So, yeah, even best case scenario, you're just ignoring the exhaustion perks. Like, even if it's such a small window to react, dead hard can correct that mistake. Which is why they're bad. Like, you have to assume these survivors are fucking good, dude.
Whatsoever. Again, if you're in Blood Lodge or something like that, yes, you're going to have a bad time. Every killer has their bad maps. That's just how the game is. But for the most part, every map has some form of line of sight blocking that allows Myers to get within lunging distance before their survivors can even...
Like, he has not perpetrated one example of actual good counterplay against this killer so far. Not one. Even the chat was even that last comment acknowledged that the Myers is countered by spreading out. Scott didn't even address that. Which was, again, he harped on Legion so bad for, where if you spread out, Legion's just fucking screwed more than any other killer in the game, even though Myers is screwed just about the same by it.
React. This tier up is so slow. Why do people keep saying it takes 6 seconds?
Because you're playing garbage players, Scott! Against garbage players, it's easy. Against trash, it's easy. Against good survivors, it's not. I know you and your friend Otts like to bully the garbage players, usually make streak videos about it, but that's just not who we're analyzing for, dude. That's just not what we're doing here. We're talking about the people with brains. You have to have a brain. Smart survivors. Survivors with eyes. Like, you notice these comments are deliberately talking about survivors with brains, survivors with eyes. Like, he's not even putting any distinction there between good and bad players. And that's just that, again, when you don't want MMR and you're blinded by the matchmaking system, you can feel like a god, dude. You can feel like the best player in the world, but you're going up against babies that are ranked 2s and shouldn't be because of how bad the system is.
It's not that. 6 seconds without add-ons, by the way. Now, if they're further away, if you're stalking someone across the map, yes, it'll...
He has to continue downplaying how bad the early game is, though, because that's the only way you can defend Myers, is by downplaying it. Downplaying that early game. Oh, he's got a stealth mechanic, dude. He's not that bad. He's not that bad.
Take longer. But like I said, that's not typically how you should be stalking people. You can't be afraid to get next to people as Myers and then start stalking them. I feel like people are probably taking the role play aspect of Myers a bit too seriously, and they're like trying to stalk from a distance. That's actually the weakest thing you can do with him. What you do is get
the role-playing aspect, bruh.
Very close to people like this, and then you start stalking them.
We know how
That's
to play
the best
Myers,
thing you can do, because stalking is the speed is based on the proximity of the survivor. So,
like, he just like the similarities between this man and Almo are incredible, just incredible. He's giving me a clown is underrated speech, but he's giving it about Myers. Like, bro, we know what we're fucking doing. It's just, if they know what they're doing too, problems ensue.
Once you get them to a loop like this, you'll stalk them in 6 seconds. It takes no time at all. So maybe that's something people are doing incorrectly too, thinking Myers is super...
Maybe the survivor did it incorrectly by going to that loop. Just a thought. Maybe it's not in my control. You ever think of that? Maybe it's not in my control. You know, when the Legion gets into feral frenzy, at least I have control over I get the hit or not.
Bad because you're trying to stalk people very far away, in which case the bar will move very slowly.
Yeah,
but getting close is very easy and very important.
This man has just downplayed 70 plus comments on his video by saying everyone in the comment section was just bad. Maybe the survivors you play against are bad, bro. Maybe.
He's good at getting close. That's his whole thing. With no tear radius, you're able to get close very, very easily. You can't capitalize off the weak league either, as your stock on
Oh
people
wow,
are
dude!
limited.
I wonder why. I wonder why Scott has an easy time tearing up